on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Day 2 out at TPC Southland. The FESJC really starting to get interesting, as it always does. Denny McCarthy, 4 under through 8 holes. He and now Sam Burns, 5 under through 7 today, are at 8 under. Hideki Matsuyama birdied the first hole, so through 2, -1 today, -6, along with Chris Kirk, whom I witnessed yesterday with my wife on 14, with, by the way, it looked like the Sunday pin position, it was back right. And he had a hole-in-one. He was our first day leader at 6 under. So nice to be out here again. We got to thank Landers Ford for that. And our scoreboard is brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin. We'll give you all the other sponsors as we go along today. The Hideki Matsuyama story is really very interesting. If you've not heard the whole thing, let me just say, after Hideki won the bronze, he was on his way to Memphis. His first stop from Paris was Heathrow in London. So he's there, and he's got all his bags, and he and his agent and his caddy, they go to an airport restaurant. Their backs are turned to their bags. Thieves stole their bags, their wallets, their passports. Fortunately for Hideki, he had his bronze medal still on him and his passport, so he was able to come. His caddy and his agent had to go back to Japan to get redocumented, so they could not even come here. Fortunately for Hideki, who has a real chance to win this, Hideki has a former agent that lives in the United States, because he doesn't really understand English much. He really needed a Japanese caddy, and he got him here in time for yesterday's first round. It's an incredible story. That's what's going on. So we watched Chris Kirk yesterday. That was really fun. I was spending a bunch of time on 17. I probably watched 12 groups go through 17. Only one birdie yesterday, 1 out of 24 players. That hole always playing so hard. It was hot yesterday. I think it probably kept down some of the gallery, but it was benign conditions, so they could play, I think, some pretty efficient golf. I found a new spot. I'm going to share it with you. It's on 11. It's free. It's just left of the green. Perfect place to watch the par 3. Beautiful spot if you've got there. And I got to give a shout-out to a friend of mine. You may know him as a referee. He owns all the Jason's Delis, so he's actually one of the sponsors that allow us to be out here. Keith Patterson yesterday walked as one of those scorecard bearers, standard bearer. He walked 36 holes yesterday with 2 different groups in 1:08 feels like. I mean, that's incredible. He's not doing any of that today, just to let you know. But 36 holes yesterday, I got to give him some kind of medal. That is for sure. You know, it wouldn't be a show with me out here if we did not bring in the guy who saved this tournament, that is still a big part of this tournament, and that is Executive Director Jack Sammons.
No, I'm not the Executive Director.
Tournament Director is Joe Tomek. He's
the Executive Director. I'm the General Chairman.
General Chair.
Whatever that means.
You're number one in my heart. That's all I can tell you.
But can you dance to it?
Yeah. So let's just start a little bit with this story from yesterday, because you keep up with this stuff.
Yep.
Even though I know you've been playing golf the last 2 days.
Well, I'm in the business of raising money. We work all year long to put this thing together. Joe Tomek and his group do an amazing job. We've got 1,600 volunteers. Phil Cannon told me years ago, when they stick the first tee in the ground on Thursday morning at 7 o'clock, we hand the ball to the 1,600 volunteers and we get out of the way.
Yeah.
My business, my job all week is to thank the 1,600 volunteers, which we couldn't put this on without them. And as important, the sponsors, the donors, and frankly, everybody I see as I'm driving my little cart through the masses, thank them for coming out.
Yeah.
Let them know that, we're grateful for their support and appreciate them coming out. That's so important. But last night I had some major donors to the hospital. The hospital said, how about, we bring some folks over for a little bit. I've got this wine cellar that you must come and see.
I know you've told me about it.
Okay. And it's kind of we call it the wine cave. So they came at 6 and they left at 1:30 a.m.
Woo!
Okay.
And you're still here.
I'm here, brother. Now, my voice is pretty sexy this morning. It's a little froggy, but I'm here. And yesterday,
did you raise some money last night?
We raised 2 nights ago $1.4 million at the St. Jude Jam.
Wow.
Which is the preface to the Celebrity Am.
Right.
That was yesterday at Spring Creek. So I was at the Creek. I played in the Celebrity Am, and I must let your listeners know my team won the whole thing.
That some doesn't seem right about that.
There was one shot I made, a 55-yard chip in for, went in for eagle. Now,
wow!
It's a scramble, and we've got Kevin King Kong Bullard, who is a former national long drive champion, playing on my team, and he can hit it a mile. And we had some other fellas that were just smoking it. I mean, Fernando Frias of Frias Winery, he was draining putts like he was Lauren Roberts. And it just, it worked out. We had Kevin Rahm, who was our celebrity, awesome guy. He puts on a tournament called the Rahm down in Ponte Vedra, raises millions of dollars for the hospital. So I'm out there schmoozing with all these people, thanking them, and that event will raise close to $2 million, which is part of, our goal this year is to give about $8 million to the hospital. We've already raised 72 since our inception, and we think we'll hit 80 this year.
Wow, that's a blessing.
It really is. Dave, I speak to the volunteers. We have big meetings, 400 or 500 at a time. I told them I went and visited Scotty. My brother, he's got a house in California. He summers in California. And he asked me, he said, we're going to play golf. He said, you want to stop and get a donut? I said, man, my fat self doesn't need a donut. He goes, no. They got $5 donuts in California. I said, Don DeWeese would die to sell donuts for $5. So we go to this place. There's a long line. I said, I want to meet the suckers that are going to pay $5. And maybe they want to be a sponsor for a golf tournament. But anyway, very attractive lady standing behind me. She sees my shirt. She sees my hat. It says St. Jude, FedEx St. Jude. She says, do you work for St. Jude? And I said, no, ma'am, I raise money for them. She pulls out her phone. She shows me a picture of her 18-year-old son that 8 months ago the doctors in California said, your son's going to die soon. He's got an incurable cancer, nothing we can do. The only chance this young man has to live is if he goes to Memphis and gets in St. Jude. If they'll admit him, he might have a chance. And I'm telling the volunteers, don't ever think for a minute that your little bitty part doesn't have an impact on the overall picture.
Right.
It's like being in a tug of war. I'm not making a difference. Should I let go? You let go, boom, the team falls. And I told that story to the volunteers, and they bought into it because they all realize that we all got to be here. We can't say, heck, we've got 1,599 others that'll be here. We've all got to be here, and collectively they make a difference. I sent this lady a box for her son Grant, some, a shirt and some toys from the tournament, and she wrote me this very heartfelt text last night.
And you just met her in a line at a donut shop?
Right, and it tells you that St. Jude.
There are no coincidences in life.
But St. Jude is such a great ambassador for our community. And, you hear all these negative things, but St. Jude they're our Dallas Cowboys. It's our franchise. And I'm so honored to be part of this initiative every year at the FedEx St. Jude to raise money for the kids. And, some life will be saved with the money that we earn.
All right, let me swing this to some business.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the PGA commissioner spoke and basically said they're not going to be a live deal for at least 3 years. we're pretty well set. We got this new deal with these business guys in the Northeast, SSG. What do you think is eventually going to happen?
Well,
this is, I understand this is not, you're not speaking on behalf of the tour. I'm asking you as a guy who's been in and around the golf administration business for a long time. What do you think the end game is going to be here?
That's a loaded question.
That's what I do.
You do, and you do it very well. I would say that if you and I were playing blackjack against a fella who could barely count to 21, but he had a stack of chips that was a mile high, and we had a short stack of chips, and he hits on 20 or less, eventually he'd beat us if he doesn't get bored and walk away from the game. But the friends of mine that went to the LIV tournament in Nashville told me that they felt like the players didn't really feel like they were competing. They were just going through the motions, except for the guys that are on the edge that might get disinvited to the desert in short order. I played in a Pro-Am with John Rahm. He and his agent, Koski, are friends of mine. And I talked to Koski the other day. I said, what happened to your boy? I said, used to go to the checkout stand at the grocery store, and it was like John Benet. He's on every magazine. You know, he was the face of golf. I said, now it looks like he's in the witness protection program. And then he gained some weight and the whole deal. He said, well, we got about 300 million reasons not to worry about it.
Right.
Okay? But eventually I think some of the tour officials have said, you know, maybe we've got too many tournaments in America. Maybe we've got to have more of an international face. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is pure conjecture, and I'm not speaking for anybody other than I think you might end up seeing some, it might not be a marriage, but it might be a mutual friendship where you have some more international tournaments maybe in the fall, but the PGA Tour regular season will just get stronger and stronger because every year these kids coming out of college are just unbelievable.
Look at this kid Clinton.
Oh, my goodness.
Who probably will win the U.S. Amateur. He's finished top 15 or 20 in 3 different PGA Tour events this year.
I played with a kid that goes to High Point University and the Pro-Am 3 days ago. He didn't make the team. He went to Macaulay High School in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
This kid's a +2, one of the best golfers I've ever seen. The guys that played with him were all saying, how could this kid not be on the tour? I said, the tour? He didn't make his high school team, at Macaulay. And this kid's a +2. I mean, he's one of the best golfers I've ever seen for somebody that age. The point there is the pipeline is so full of the next Rorys. And, by the way, I played with Rory in the Pro-Am. What a nice gentleman.
And a smart guy. I listened to his interview in the press room. Articulate, thoughtful. I'm glad he has been involved in this process with the players. I know there's been a little bit of friction there, but I believe this guy legitimately has everybody in mind as he sorts through this.
Listen, I've played with so many of these great ones, but he really impressed me, as did JT Poston. Oh, that guy's another Lauren Roberts, too. He's the boss of the moss. He can drain a putt like you wouldn't believe. I think it'll all work out. The PGA Tour is investing $12 million in this facility in the next 10 months after, say, Thanksgiving. They wouldn't be spending all that money if Memphis wasn't just a bulwark of a strong foundation of where we're headed.
Well, how much is that, the history, the legacy here, going back, more than 50 years of having an event?
Right, yeah.
So let's 70, almost,
getting close to 70 years.
70 years.
Right.
As opposed to the strength of their title sponsor, FedEx, which,
I'd say
that's pretty important too.
98% FedEx.
Yeah.
FedEx is the greatest sponsor in sports, and they give till it hurts. And their focus remains. Every meeting I have with the top executives, how is this going to help the kids at St. Jude? Not how are we going to ship more packages. I mean, they're heart and mind is just really in the right place. They are Richard Smith, Fred's oldest son, is such a great champion for our city. And all these negative naysayers that want to say, our best days are behind us, he wants to, hit him in the eye and just say, you've lost your mind. I mean, our best days are ahead of us. We've got great opportunities. So many things are working in Memphis. Sure, we've got some tune-ups, and we got to clean up some places here and there and work on it happened at Heathrow. I'm glad it happened there and not here. But,
me too.
Yeah. But listen, I'm a Memphis believer, and I think this tournament is part of that recipe. My mother had a recipe for spaghetti that was 3 pages long. Every little piece made a difference. This tournament is a big piece about what makes people feel good about our community in the entire Mid-South region. Interesting to note, last year, we can track this now with electronic ticketing through Ticketmaster. More people from out of town than in town came to this tournament. Okay, it was about 60-40. We got people from Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas. I want to implore people in your listening audience, come on out. Enjoy.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good thing for tourism. It's a good thing for restaurants.
Kevin Kane,
great thing for hotels. Kevin Kane is a smiling guy. In his suite on 17. But is it good for the tournament? All told, do we need more inclusion of people here to come out and support this?
Absolutely, and we're doing a lot to try to increase our diversity. And Nike has made a major investment. Right there behind the tee of 14 with to make it fun. You don't have to be a golf fan to come out here. They've got all kinds of.
Oh, they were loud yesterday when Chris Kirk hit the hole-in-one.
Place went
bananas.
Yeah.
I was at the right place at the right time. Luckiest thing I've ever seen. I was there. I didn't even see it land. I just saw it roll in. It was incredible.
Well, maybe the best place in America to watch a golf match is the Captain's Club on the tee box of 14.
Yeah,
it's cool. See 14 tee box, 16 green. For the first time on that hole only, we have signs that say, "Get loud, y'all," not hush y'all.
Right.
So we're encouraging.
So you're trying to make this Phoenix?
Well, a baby Phoenix for that hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
It'll take time, but I think ultimately that hole will be surrounded by a stadium. We've got a floating dock that walks up to Andy and Michael of Andrew Michael fame,
right.
Two of the best chefs in this part of the world. And they've got this place called Birdie and Bubbles, maybe the best chicken sandwich I've ever encountered. And I've eaten enough chickens. A lot of chickens have given their lives for this old boy here.
So are we pretty healthy financially here? And the other thing I want to ask you, I've heard rumors, and I know we're safe as a playoff as long as FedEx is title sponsor.
Correct.
But I've heard also that Eastlake might relinquish that championship, that it could end up being here, the top 30. What can you share with us on that?
Dave, I'd say that whatever FedEx wants to do, I'm 100% for. But as a civilian, I would much prefer to have the first round than the second or third, because I got more tomatoes to sell out of my wagon. I've got 70 golfers instead of 50 or 30. And Memphians, this is an expensive sport to invest in. And if you're going to spend a lot of money for hospitality, I think they want to be here all day. At the Tour Championship with 30 players, you can knock through that thing in a few hours. But if FedEx, whatever they want to do, by golly, I'm for it. They're our great, great sponsor and have been so, so good to this tournament and this community. But just my individual opinion.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't heard a word. Now, I get that on the street sometimes. People ask me those questions. But be careful what you ask for.
I love it this way. I'm not advocating for anything.
I know you're not, Dave. But 15 years ago when we started, I had a low-paying job with no hope for advancement, as they said on Saturday Night Live. We were broke. I was going to Jackson, Mississippi to recruit players. Dickie Pride, who won this in 1994.
His only win.
I'm trying to implore him to come. He said, "What are you going to do for me?" I wanted to knock his block off. I'm like, come on, dude. Nobody on earth knows who you are except us. But we gave sponsors exemptions. I was able to give one twice to Patrick Reed, Jordan Spieth. George Spieth. Jordan yesterday gave $500,000 to the hospital.
I did not know that. Jordan Spieth gave $500,000?
Yes, sir. And
God bless him. Did you give Scotty Scheffler a sponsor's exemption? Because I read somewhere his debut on the PGA Tour was here.
Right here.
You gave him a sponsor's exemption?
Yes, sir.
That was Cannon and you who came up with that concept, correct?
Well, I mean, the sponsors exemption are throughout the.
But I'm talking about sort of gambling on young guys coming up that you thought.
He and I would argue about this. And Phil, everybody thinks Phil was just this easygoing, sweet little guy. But when he got an argument, all 130 pounds of him was a rocket ship. And we got in an argument about Taylor Gooch. And the truth of the matter is, Taylor Gooch's uncle was a friend of mine, friend of my buddy Mike Petrangelo. And we'd been to Miami and had dinner with him at Joe's. And he sends me a text. He said, I've got a nephew. He goes to school at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And he's really good. And I think you ought to give him a sponsor's exemption. Well, Phil went nuts. He goes, he's not even the number one player on Oklahoma State. Why would you give him one? I just got a feeling he's going to be good. So
you didn't fess up?
We fought to the 11th hour and somebody scratched. And it opened a spot, and I mean at 11:59 on that Friday at noon, which is the deadline. He goes, okay. Well, Taylor Gooch ends up being a superstar.
Right.
Now, he's riding camels now, but he's made a lot of money, and he's a fine young man. But there are a lot of those guys. We had to give a sponsor's exemption to a Lee Westwood.
I remember.
The first tournament.
And I remember why you didn't want to give it to him.
See, as Phil told me when he called me, he said he's got dirt on his shirt. I said, well, reach in my filing cabinet. Give him a clean shirt. What are you talking about? He goes, no, it says UPS.
Yeah.
Nah, we don't want him. But I told him, I don't know Lee Westwood from Lee Greenwood. At the time, I mean. But he ended up playing, and Robert Garrigus, God bless him, used his driver.
Right.
He should 10 cup. He should have used.
He did 10 cup.
7 iron.
Oh, it was crazy.
Bless his heart, a great guy.
And he came back the next year from media
yes,
day because Westwood didn't. I mean, that's incredible.
He told the media when they asked him if he felt bad about blowing it. He said, it's just a game. But he said, I went to the hospital and I saw the look in those mom's eyes and the kids' eyes. He goes, what we're doing is helping these kids live. That's a lot more important than me winning this golf tournament. I fell in love with that guy there.
He was a cool guy. Speaking of cool guys, I want to end this with Dwight Trinkert because you were quoted plenty of times.
Yes, sir.
I had the pleasure of hanging around Dwight Trinkert several times, and I've told this to Dwight. His father, I kind of tried to emulate. If I ever emceed anything, I tried to be like his dad. His dad, I thought, was the best MC I had ever seen in all my days.
No kidding.
And now Dwight was not quite that gregarious a personality.
Right.
But in his own way, he was incredible getting things done.
He was. You think about the Mount Rushmore of this tournament, Joe Trebo, Charlie Brakefield, Dwight Trinkert, and Vernon Bell. When I was a kid, reading the sports page every morning, I'd see those guys' names over and over again and how they were trying to build this tournament back in the day. And on sports radio, George Lapidus would what was the lady's name? Steinberg?
Peggy Sternberger.
Peggy Sternberger. She would report from the Colonial and talk about how Gerald Ford made a hole in one.
She was on the Mutual Network. She might have been the first woman sportscaster. Seriously.
Could have been.
She was doing this in the 60s.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, you're one of your mentors, George Lapidus. When I got this gig, I didn't even play golf, Dave. I mean, I was an ex-politician. But I knew how to organize people and, maybe had a little leadership ability here or there. But I sat down with George, and George said, you need to learn the game. It's fun. It'll open, doors all over the world. And he sent me out to putt-putt. and got lessons out there.
Did you get him with Ted Butler?
I got him with Ted Butler.
There's my man.
Okay, he's an awesome guy.
You're an awesome guy.
God bless
the
George
great thing
Lapidus,
about
dude.
you, if anybody ever gets a chance to play with Jack Sammons, here's the cool thing. He will tell you a different story on every tee box. I don't know how many times I've played with you now. I've never heard a repeat story. That's the truth.
Well, listen, there is an unlimited number of stories, and maybe that plus the wine is why those people didn't leave till 1:30 last night.
That is it.
I had fresh meat. They never heard any of these stories.
General Chair, you're the best.
God bless you, brother.
Thank you
for
we
having
appreciate
me.
that.
Yes, sir.
Jack Sammons, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by, in part, the Spirit Shop. We're talking spirits. Eddie Connor was just here, but you need to go see Eddie right at the corner of Poplar and St. Nick, that little log cabin. You get a history lesson, you get an education, and you get the best deal on any spirit. Any great wine, any up-and-coming bourbon or tequila, you'll get a story, and you'll get really and truly the best price. Poplar and St. Nick, that little log cabin, you'll love it. The Spirit Shop. We take a break. When we come back, we talk some baseball. Tim Doolin will join us here from Southwind.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Price does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer dock fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Silverado RG 377,592, MSRP 61,065, dealer discount 42.74, factory rebate 47.50, trade assistance 1,000, must trade in 2010 or newer vehicle. Track stock number RC 246,913, MSRP 23,395, dealer discount 14.03, expires 9/3/24.
At Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, they're proud to be here for their neighbors while giving back to communities across the state throughout the year, every year. This month, they're honored to stand alongside 1,600 dedicated volunteers as they make this year's annual FedEx St. Jude Golf Tournament fundraiser a resounding success. Giving back to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, which helps treat and defeat childhood cancer, is a meaningful effort that is very close to their hearts. This year, their goal is to reach $3 million in donations for kids at St. Jude's, and they couldn't do it without the support of their amazing volunteers. To all the participants, thank you for being a part of this most important endeavor to lift up so many families across the state from right here in Memphis, Tennessee. To read more about Team Blue volunteers, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, Healthy Places, and other ways they're devoted to helping our communities, please visit bcbst.com.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns, to turnovers, and overturned plays.
After review, pass is incomplete.
Nice! Go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV, and a new phone. Excludes digital only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Back to Wolo and friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
Little more than half the field out there already. Scheffler and Xander, they are continuing their battle. Denny McCarthy, though, 5 over through 11 today, 9 over for the tournament. So is Sam Burns. He's 6 under today through 9. You want to talk about hot? 62, I believe, is the course record. We'll keep our eye on Sam Burns' score. Eric Van Rooyen, Nick Taylor, Hideki Matsuyama, and yesterday's leader who had a hole-in-one, Chris Kirk. They are at 6 under. Victor Hovland's 5 under today through 14. Now 5 under for the tournament. So is Harris English. He's played 12 holes today, 3 under for the day. Robert McIntyre, we all know him. He's 5 under. He's played 7 today. And then looks like Xander Schauffele and Scotty Scheffler, both 1 under through 3 today, 5 under for the tournament. And our scoreboard brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, our title sponsor, Landers Ford, First National Bank, Jason's Deli, Wade Inc., that's your North Mississippi John Deere dealer, Ronnie Grisani's Town Village Audubon Park, Banyan Tree Realtors, Wilson's Power Wash, DeSoto Honda, Jim's Place, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, and the great folks of Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. They are all our sponsors. We have moved our family leisure studios to TPC Southwind. And a reminder, if you get to I-40 and Witten Road, the biggest spot sale ever going on right there now. Come by, and by the way, you can put your name in the box for the drawing for 4 tickets for the Memphis-Troy game, and that Troy game is getting bigger and bigger and bigger in importance as we go, because people are starting to recognize just how important that game could be, as Troy is honestly really becoming a factor, at least in all of these preseason polls, as to how good they might be. Let's talk a little bit of baseball. There is a story today, and it involves the National League Central. Christian Yelich, the really good player, former All-Star for the Brewers, has had to have season-ending back surgery. That means he's out. Does that open up the door, Tim Doolin, for the Cardinals and the Cubs? Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I think it definitely opens up the door. I don't know how wide it opens up the door, but it's definitely a tough blow for the Brewers, because not only is he one of their best players and has actually had somewhat of a comeback year and a half, I guess, from injuries, and backs are never good, so I don't know that that's good for them moving forward into next year as well. But yeah, it definitely opens up some doors for the teams that are on the heels of the Brewers, for sure.
We've got all kinds of injuries. Mike Trout now out for the year. I know. Mike Trout, you can make an argument the best in the game, although he's never won like greats usually do. But that's a blow to the game. Mookie has been out, your guy, for a long time, but he's back now. But there seems is there more injuries this year, or am I making that up?
Well, I don't know that there's more. It seems like it. I think there's more. More and more with the pitchers having to adapt to the complexity of the game and how they're bringing guys up and just saying, look, their mantra is just throw as hard as you can for as long as you can. You blow out, we just next man up, and when you get Tommy John, you come back, ready to throw harder. And so that's concerning from a game's perspective. But when you look at guys like Mookie getting, breaking a hand, I mean, that happens. I think the bigger picture is, these guys are spending so much time in the weight room to get bigger and stronger. And even though they're using legal supplements, I think sometimes those supplements create so much tightness in the joints that you're breaking down more often. I mean, it's been known for years that Trout had a condition from birth that he was allowed to take HGH and has, but I think there's a correlation to all the injuries that he's had because of that. So it's there's got to be a balance. I mean, you look back in the 70s and even the early 80s into the 90s. Guys, baseball players weren't cut like they are now, but yet they had long careers and played the game really, really at a high level. So I definitely think it's something that they're going to have to look at. But there again, I don't know that the game wants to change the way they're doing it because they're getting production.
The Dodgers, I think the fourth best record in the majors. A couple of games ahead of the Diamondbacks and the Padres, who've started to play pretty good baseball. Get Mookie back, that's got to help, right?
Well, so, he had a home run his first game back, and he's and I talked to him several times, and he was never going to rush coming back too soon because that's just not how he operates. And having the guaranteed contract and the stability of his veteran leadership, they weren't about to make him come back any sooner than he was ready. So, that definitely helps him. Helps the Dodgers coming back. Ohtani's obviously having another career year. But they've had some blows to their pitching staff going down, and at some point in time, you run out of those arms. You can't go make trades, now that are going to help you. So I think really the story in that division is the Padres are playing unbelievable. I think I looked the other day, they were like 9-2 in their last 11 games. They're only 2.5, 3 games back of the Dodgers. So
right. Yeah.
That's gonna be as interesting of a race as to me the National League Central. And obviously those teams aren't as big a market as the Dodgers and even the Padres, but it's definitely going to be interesting.
In the American League in the Central, Cleveland's got the best record in baseball, 21 games over 500. The Orioles and the Yankees tied atop the American League East with the second best record at 72 and 50. The Yankees are getting one heck of a year out of Aaron Judge, who keeps making history. He's now become the quickest player ever to get 300 home runs. He's already in the Hall, isn't he?
Oh, there's no question about it. And I think, and I'm sure some of the media is talking about it, but it's not a coincidence that, he's putting up numbers, but the numbers he's putting up, I think it's a definite correlation to adding Soto to that lineup. Because, you look up and you go, okay, we can pitch around him, but we got to pitch to this guy. And so that's going to play into, I think, a large factor in the Yankees having the ability to re-sign Soto. Because Soto understands the same thing, that, having a Judge in that lineup around him is going to help protect him and get him, either pitched to or not. But so I think there's a distinct possibility that the Yankees are going to be able to re-sign him. How they're going to do it, I don't know, because it's going to take a lot of money. And again, there's not that many teams that are going to be in that market because they can't afford it. But it'll be interesting for sure.
It is funny because, that Juan Soto got intentionally walked by the White Sox, which then Aaron Judge said inspired him, and he hit his 300th home run, which was a doozy, because they intentionally walked Soto. So, that is crazy. Last thing, remember we talked about baseball and softball not being in the Olympics this year? They're going to be back in 28. I don't know what kind of participation it will be, like if they use major league players. But listen, in the NHL for the Winter Olympics, they actually paused the season for 2 weeks to allow those pros to play in the Winter Olympics. The WNBA allowed their stars to play in the Olympics for the women's USA national team and paused the season for a couple of weeks. Would Major League Baseball do that?
Not going to happen. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I don't think that you're going to see Major League stars participate in the Olympics. I think you're going to see, veteran guys that have played in the big leagues that are in AAA, or that they'll have a list that will allow certain players to go. But I don't think they're going to. A, I don't think they're going to pause the season, and B, I don't think you're going to see any of the big stars participate. Too much at risk, too much money, too much chance for injury.
But if you're a star and you're getting all that exposure on national TV and you walk away with a medal?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think there's enough insurance that would cover it for the player and for the team. And although I think there's lots of players that would want to represent their country, they're going to have to get something worked out with the union to figure out if that can happen. But I just don't see it happening.
I understand what you're saying, and I think you're right. But I'm going to tell you that baseball's popularity could use some more exposure. I really believe the Olympics would actually help.
I hear you, but you can't pause the season for 2 weeks. Think about that, what that does to your rotation, to your momentum, it's just not going to happen. It's not like basketball. And again, baseball's the only sport going on, per se during the summer months, and they're gonna shut it down for 2 weeks. I just don't think it's going to happen. You've got TV contracts in place that are long-term contracts. I think you're going to see former major leaguers playing. I think you're going to see some 4A, type of players that are better than AAA, but not quite an established big leaguer yet. But I'd be shocked. And I've got great relationships with USA Baseball, with Paul Seiler, who's been their CEO for years. Eric Campbell, he's the director of all their college and minor league USA teams. I'll be able to get some scoop, and probably as we get closer to it, at some point in time, I'd be able to get one of those guys on the show for sure.
All right, we'll do that. He's our man on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Willow. Thank you.
Tim Doolin on baseball, brought to you by the great Miramichi. He's a guy that understands all about Miramichi. He goes out there and he plays with the owner, Fred Edmondson, all the time. He loves that place. I don't know what he likes more, whether it's the competition level of it or the beauty of it or the ability to practice with great facilities out there, or the food afterwards with the wonderful beverages. They got it all. It's the total golf experience. Miramichi, just north of downtown, 12 minutes away, 22 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis. You want beauty, you want competition, you want the whole shebang, you got to get to Miramichi in Woodstock. We pause for just a second. When we come back, we always end our week. That's with Bryant Dacus. He's out here, and he's next.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. The Sunrise Super Summer Sale is on fire at Sunrise Buick GMC at Wolf Chase. You'll find sizzling hot deals like a new 24 Buick Envista and $2 grand off MSRP, or choose a new 24 Buick Encore GX at up to $7 grand off MSRP with qualifying rebate. Sunrise Buick GMC at Wolf Chase. Limited fun black car.
Price does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer doc fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Invista stock number RB168330, MSRP $25,880, dealer discount $2,000. Encore stock number RB217502, MSRP $30,405, dealer discount $4,000. Purchase allowance $3,000. Must currently own a non-GM vehicle. Expires 9/3/24.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, SIG, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals, and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quirky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
Talking values you never thought possible. 5-year to 20-year diamonds. Maximum values on all notable items. Prestigious jewelry.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Genesis has the largest jewelry diamond selection you've ever seen.
Don't pass this one by, my man. Take your pick, 2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta Sport, just $275 a month. And 2024 Atlas Peak Edition, $5,000 off or 0.9% APR for 60 months. And remember, in Cox Volkswagen on the Pike, no reasonable offer will be refused.
Remember, it's your choice. 2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta Sport, $275 a month. And 2024 Atlas Peak Edition's $5,000 off or 0.9% APR for 60 months. So ask for Jason the Main Man Marshall at Gossett Volkswagen, 1875 Covington Pike, or online at GossettDWMemphis.com.
Where we're charging for it and charging less every day.
The hub is humming. So is Sam Burns. 6 under through 10. He's got sole lead midway through the second round here. He's 9 under total. Denny McCarthy at 8 under. He's 4 under through 12 today. Eric Van Rooyen, Hideki Matsuyama, they're at 7 under. Victor Hovland, boy, does he need to turn his year around. He's at 6 under with Nick Taylor, Robert McIntyre, that great story. Xander Schauffele, 2 under today through 4. He's 6 under. Yesterday's leader, Chris Kirk, has not teed off yet. He's 6 under. Harris English, Scotty Scheffler, Justin Rose, Taylor Pendrith, Matthew Pavon, they are all at 5 under. That's brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, our scoreboard. Landers Ford is our title sponsor. First National Bank, Jason's Deli, Wade Inc., your North Mississippi John Deere dealer, Ronnie Grisani's Town Village of Audubon Park, Banyan Tree Realtors, Wilson's Power Wash, DeSoto Honda, Jim's Place, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, and Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. All our sponsors. So is Matt Eflin and his team. They believe in collaboration to ensure you the best way possible. They want to know your family, what's important, what your budget is. Then they find the perfect protection for your home, your auto, or your future with life insurance. Same thing, small to mid-sized businesses. They'll get to know you, your employees, your product, and then what your budget should be to protect your business. It's the Eflin Insurance Team. They collaborate. Let me collaborate with my guy. That would be Brian Dacus. You having fun out here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I saw a ton of golf yesterday. Going to see a ton more today, and then we'll be at the weekend where it all really matters.
What was your favorite moment yesterday? My wife and I actually saw Chris Kirk's hole-in-one.
Oh, wow, did you?
Yeah,
wow, and that's one of my favorite holes that I usually hang out at, so I was upset that I went over there when it happened. But no, I don't know. I mean, I really wanted to see some of these young guys that we're seeing kind of, really start to get their groove on tour. Akshay Bhatia, Ludwig Aubert, who, didn't play well yesterday. So I walked around with those guys a little bit yesterday, and so that was fun to see those young guys.
Oberg, I'm really disappointed in him. I thought he was about to emerge as a great star.
Yeah.
And it could still happen.
Certainly.
That's for certain. I don't think it's going to happen here.
No.
You know who else is emerging as a pretty good player, at least according to Colin Morikawa?
Who's that?
Penny Hardaway.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he played with him in the Pro-Am and said afterwards that, he's really, really good. And we know here how much Penny Hardaway loves golf. And, so to hear another, an actual professional golfer kind of say those things about Penny Hardaway, and I heard, him and several other guys were kind of saying, I'm going to have to go back and watch some Penny Hardaway basketball highlights, and so no, that's really cool, for him to be able to get out here and be around those professionals. He was at Spring Creek yesterday. Obviously, they do a great pro-am over there for St. Jude, and I know a family that is really involved over there. Their son is a St. Jude patient, so they were out there yesterday and just said Penny Hardaway was just so nice. And
I think Jack Salmon
awesome
said, by the way, that pro-am yesterday raised $1.4 million.
Wow, how about that? That's awesome.
That's pretty impressive for sure. All right, so we saw the implosion.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we're getting more and more ready for this football season. And then, oddly enough, they released the football schedule for 2025, at least for the American, and we see it's a reversal. So The Tigers will play at home, USF, Navy, Tulane, and Texas San Antonio. Yeah. And the Tigers will be at all those places this year. Yeah. There is the addition on the road next year of East Carolina.
Yeah.
Memphis hasn't played the Pirates in football in a couple of years. FAU, that's not a bad trip to go to Boca. We played in their bowl game before they were even part of the league. Rice will be in Houston and then back in Birmingham in that newish stadium to play UAB. And, you know, they seem to have a pretty solid football team most years.
Yeah, no, and like you said, you know, it's an interesting schedule for conference. You mentioned haven't seen East Carolina in a couple of years, so you go out there. I know a lot of people don't really like that road trip because kind of in the middle of nowhere.
You know what I like about it?
What's that? I've never heard anybody say a good thing about that trip, honestly.
I'm going to tell you what's good about it. When they're good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Their atmosphere at that stadium is the best of any in the American.
I believe it. Yeah.
The only ones that could really get close to it was Memphis.
Sure.
When we've got a pretty good house. And who else would I say? You know, the old Cincinnati.
Sure.
When they had a good team, when they had
definitely
when they were just an average team, no one would come to that ballpark. Right. So I appreciate when ECU is good. Yeah. It's the best atmosphere in the league.
Well, it feels like that school really, you know, rallies around their teams. I know their baseball program's been really good over these last handful of years, and so you know you watch their home games and it's packed out and students all over the place. So you know it doesn't surprise me that it is over with football and basketball as well. So no, some really interesting stuff. You go to FAU. You know we haven't seen them or been there on the road in football since they've joined the conference. Same with Rice. I know that's kind of an old foe from previous conferences, but you'll get them now in the American. So it's definitely an interesting schedule, and we know Arkansas will be on the schedule non-conference next year. So that will be an interesting non-con game
at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Correct?
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll only be 32,000.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting about it. Who knows where we are?
Well, so here's the deal: get season tickets. So
you don't have to worry about it.
Can't gobble up your tickets. Yes. Although who knows where they will be? Because I think we all kind of suspect that this will be the last year for Sam Pittman. There, you look at their schedule. Hard to believe that they would be anything but that. You mentioned, Penny deserves a couple of days off to play golf. He's worked hard.
Yeah.
But there are still 3 scholarships left now that we've heard the story about Daniel Vieira Tuck. Mm-hmm. He was the kid who played for Portugal. He's played for a bunch of different schools.
Oh, he's been all over the place.
And apparently we had a transcript problem.
Yeah, so very, very weird situation with him. And it was always kind of weird. I mean, this was a guy that before he committed, not many people knew about him. There weren't a lot of rumors about him being a potential guy to commit. He commits out of nowhere, and then it felt like you got it the day he committed. A lot of people were talking about him. And then after that, it was nothing. Nobody was really talking about this guy. And then we got the reports that he wasn't going to be on campus early in the summer, that he was going to be over playing for Portugal in a U20 FIBA tournament. And so that he was going to join at the end of summer, and now we're learning that a transcript issue, it sounds like from at least what his father has said, is that he was a part of an online high school, and, you know, as you can only imagine.
You know, I like the way that this school branded itself. It said, we're not your typical high school.
I love that.
We're here for the needs of potential NCAA athletes. And then they turn around and don't have the transcripts to get you into the NCAA.
That's great. Yeah, so now he's going to go to Overtime Elite. He's going to remain committed to Memphis. But I'll be honest, Dave, I would be surprised at this point if he ever is a Tiger.
Well, if he has a great year at Overtime Elite, he's going to go in the NBA, right?
Exactly. And so, you know, you either got that or you've got, you know, if he doesn't, or if he has an average year, we've seen Penny Hardaway really rely on the transfer portal. If he goes out and you know, commits some guards and there's not a spot for him, you know, I wouldn't imagine he would stay committed. So it's going to be interesting for him at Overtime Elite, but definitely just a really weird story, and a guy that's not young either. I mean, this guy turns 20 in December.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, so he's an older guy, and so it's just a very strange story.
Well, I'm with you. I'm not going to hold my breath on him being a part of the Tiger program a year from now, but we shall see. When we talk about great coaches at the U of M, you think about Billy Murphy for one. They named the South Campus after him.
Named my dog after him. How about that?
Really?
Yeah.
Do you call him Spook Murphy?
No, you just call him Murphy.
Murphy?
Yeah.
You got Larry Finch, John Calipari, Mike Norvell with that winning percentage as he turned things around. But the greatest coach in the history of the school is?
Who's that?
It's Brooks Monaghan.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
You realize that Brooks got his 300th last night?
It's incredible.
In a 5-1 win over Alabama A&M. They are now 10th in the country.
Yeah.
300 wins.
Yeah,
is that not and a kid who played for the U of M?
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's done, and a sport that unfortunately doesn't get as much attention as obviously football, basketball, even baseball. But what he does year in and year out in bringing this program, both women's and men's, to national relevance in the soccer world. And we talk a lot, Dave, about the kids that he's bringing in. It's not just local guys or girls. It's not even guys or girls here nationally. He's bringing in international prospects to come and be a part of this team. And so you mentioned number 10 in the preseason polls for women's soccer. He goes out last night, first game of the season, gets number 300. So I think it's going to be another special year for them.
I do too. And the men's team made the NCAAs last year. We're a soccer powerhouse here.
Who knew? I mean, who would have thought?
And I think we're still trying to build a new soccer stadium, aren't we?
I think so. Yeah, which would be great. So it's really fun to see what he's done, and being able to be in charge of both men's and women's soccer programs and doing a great job with both. It sounds like it's very hard to do, but he is doing it well, I guess.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate that for sure. Your portion of the show brought to you by the good folks at Grind City. Now, we know their product. We know Poppy's Pills and the Thaddeus Lager and the God Hopper and the Blue Moonish thing called the Belga. Mm-hmm. We know how good those products are.
Oh, yeah.
You can attest to what kind of incredible concert venue it is.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been to now a couple of concerts out there, and both of them were unbelievable. Just the atmosphere there, the area that they have, the view that you get of the downtown, and you can see the pyramid in the background. You're right there on the river. So it's definitely a great atmosphere. And then their products are unbelievable. They've got just great products. I'm excited. I'm going to Topgolf tomorrow night. They have their products there, so I'm gonna get me a Poppy's Pills while I'm there tomorrow and have a good time.
While you're popping the golf ball?
That's right. That's exactly
Poppy's
right.
Pills.
Yes.
I like it. That's Grind City. They bring you Brian Thakis every week. So here comes Sam Burns. He's now 9 under. He just had a birdie. He's birdied 6 of his first 11 holes today. 9 under. Hideki Matsuyama, 3 under through 6. Playing without his normal caddy. He is now 8 under for the tournament. Eric Van Rooyen, Robert McIntyre, both at 7 under. Victor Hovland is at 6 under with Nick Taylor and Chris Kirk, who was a leader yesterday, has not even teed off. He is still at 6 under par. So, day 2.
Yep.
Full swing right here at Southwind. I know you'll be with Stats here this afternoon. My wife and I are going to walk around. We're going to go find Scotty Scheffler and Xander. We'll talk about all of this on Monday. Get out. Saturday and Sunday is when it counts. It's going to be a little bit cooler. Come on out. Enjoy this edition of the FedEx St. Jude Championships. That'll do it for me today, but don't go anywhere. Johnny Radio comes your way right here at the Hub. He comes your way next.